Rapper and mogul T.I., the man who built an empire on composure and grit, just collapsed in tears on a live broadcast. This isn't a stunt. This isn't acting. This is the sound of a father's soul shattering into a million pieces in real time. Reports are flooding in, vivid, terrifying, and chaotic, stating that his son, King Harris, has been involved in a fatal altercation, a situation so violent that sources say he is currently fighting for his life. But what exactly happened in those dark hours? Who pulled the trigger on this tragedy? And why is T.I.'s reaction being called the most heartbreaking moment in internet history? Stay right where you are, because what we are about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the Harris family. The ledge has finally broken. The world of celebrity news is no stranger to drama, but what we are witnessing today is the culmination of a 3-year downward spiral that everyone saw coming, yet no one could stop. To understand the tears streaming down T.I.'s face today, we have to look back at the friction that has been burning inside the Harris household for years. King Harris was never just a rapper's son. He was a young man obsessed with a reality that didn't belong to him. Born into the lap of luxury, surrounded by platinum plaques and gated community security, King spent his youth trying to outrun his own shadow. He didn't want the Prince of Atlanta title that his father, Clifford T.I. Harris, had spent decades building. No, King wanted the dirt. He wanted the street cred. He wanted to be the king of the trenches. The cracks first started appearing publicly back in 2023. Who could forget that explosive, viral argument at the Atlanta Falcons game? That wasn't just a father and son having a disagreement over a football play. That was a fundamental clash of identities. We watched on Instagram Live as T.I. desperately tried to explain the value of the life he had provided, asking King if he had ever woken up with a roach on his face. T.I. was speaking from the perspective of a man who had survived the trap, survived federal prison, and survived the very streets King was trying so hard to embrace. King's response was a chilling glimpse into his mindset. He accused his father of lying to the public and offered to take him to a drug den to prove his own street affiliations. It was the moment the world realized that King Harris wasn't just playing a character. He was becoming one. As we moved into 2026, the stakes only got higher. The infamous Pikachu onesie arrest in Peachtree Corners became a global meme, but behind the laughter was a terrifying reality. T.I. showed up to that scene at 1 a.m., standing on the side of the road, trying to de-escalate a situation where his son was taunting officers while a loaded handgun sat on the dashboard. T.I. wasn't just a mogul that night. He was a shield. He was the only thing standing between his son and a permanent disaster. But instead of a wake-up call, King turned his arrest into a content opportunity. He mocked the law, he mocked the memes, and most dangerously, he began inserting himself into his father's high-level beefs. When T.I.'s feud with 50 Cent reignited earlier this year, King didn't stay on the sidelines. He released diss tracks, made threats, and wore shirts mocking 50's deceased mother. T.I. admitted on the Ebro in the morning show that he was proud of his son for standing up for the family, but he was also terrified. He said, "I spent so much time trying to get this boy off the ledge. But the ledge in Atlanta is narrow, and the people on the other side don't care about your reality TV show or your father's Grammy Awards." Insider reports suggest that in the weeks leading up to this fatal altercation, the tension between T.I. and King had reached a breaking point. T.I. had reportedly cut off King's financial allowance and security detail in a last-ditch effort to force him back into the real world. He wanted King to feel the weight of his choices. But in the hyper-violent, high-stakes world of the Atlanta underground, being a tough guy without protection is a recipe for catastrophe. King felt he had something to prove, and his enemies knew he was now a moving target. This brings us to the present moment. The history of the Harris family is a story of survival, but King Harris was trying to survive a life he chose, not one he was born into. Every podcast fight, every standing on business rant, and every taunt directed at the police was a brick in the wall that has now collapsed. T.I. isn't just crying because of one fight. He's crying because he realized that despite all his power, all his millions, and all his influence, he couldn't protect his son from the very image his son worked so hard to create. This wasn't just an accident. It was an inevitability. And as the sirens wail in the background of this tragedy, the question remains, was this the moment King Harris finally crashed out for good? The atmosphere on that fateful night was deceptively normal. T.I. was in the middle of a late-night live stream, interacting with thousands of fans, discussing his legacy and his upcoming business moves. He looked relaxed, almost happy. But at exactly 11:43 p.m., the energy in the room shifted. A series of urgent notifications began lighting up his phone, which was sitting just inches away on the desk. You could see the confusion on his face turn into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. He picked up the device, his eyes widening as he read a text that seemed to stop his heart. Without a word to his audience, T.I. stood up and walked off camera. He forgot one crucial thing. His high-sensitivity lapel microphone was still live. What the audience heard next has now been etched into internet history as one of the most chilling recordings ever captured. A muffled, desperate scream echoed through the speakers. "What do you mean he's not moving? Get him to North Side now." Then, the sound of a chair crashing to the floor and a door slamming shut. The live stream continued to run for 3 minutes of haunting silence before a member of T.I.'s staff rushed in and cut the feed. But by then, the damage was done. The word was out. Something fatal had happened to King Harris. According to a series of exclusive leaked reports from eyewitnesses at a high-end lounge in downtown Atlanta, the scene was chaotic. King Harris had arrived at the location in his custom Tesla Cybertruck, looking for a meeting he believed was about a major music collaboration. He was alone, no security, no entourage. Witnesses say King was approached by 3 men in dark hoodies as he stepped out of the vehicle. This wasn't a schoolyard brawl or a social media confrontation. This was a targeted ambush. The verbal exchange lasted less than 60 seconds. One witness, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, claimed that King was standing on business until the very end, shouting at the men that they didn't know who they were messing with. Then, the unthinkable happened. A single, sharp crack echoed through the concrete parking structure. The witness described seeing King collapse near the driver's side door of his truck as the hooded figures jumped into a black SUV and sped away, leaving the Prince of Atlanta bleeding out on the cold pavement. The fatal altercation that T.I. had feared for years had finally materialized, and it was far more brutal than anyone could have imagined. But as the news began to spread like wildfire across social media, the first major twist emerged, one that has sent shockwaves through the entire rap industry. While the world assumed this was a random act of street violence or a robbery gone wrong, a leaked surveillance still from a nearby building tells a different, much more sinister story. In the grainy, low-light footage, a fourth figure can be seen standing in the shadows of the parking garage, watching the entire incident unfold without moving a muscle. Who was this silent observer? Initial digital forensic analysis by online sleuths suggests that the individual was wearing a jacket with a very specific logo, a logo that has been heavily associated with a rival camp involved in the 50 Cent feud. This wasn't a robbery. This was a message. But here's the twist that no one saw coming. New reports from insider sources within the Atlanta Police Department suggest that King Harris wasn't lured to that parking lot for a music meeting. He was lured there by a trusted friend. Leaked encrypted messages from King's own phone, which was recovered at the scene, show a conversation with an individual he referred to as brother. The messages show King being told that he needed to show up alone to finalize the peace treaty with the rival camp. King, in his desperate attempt to prove he could handle street business like a man, walked right into the lion's den thinking he was becoming a diplomat. He thought he was saving his father's legacy, but instead, he was walking into a trap that had been set weeks in advance. The betrayal is deep. The person who sent those messages, the person King trusted with his life, is reportedly someone who has been on T.I.'s payroll for years. As T.I. sat in that hospital waiting room, his tears weren't just for his son's critical condition. They were for the realization that the enemies weren't just at the gates. They were already inside the house. The fatal altercation was a setup, a calculated move to hit T.I. where it hurts the most. And as the doctors fight to stabilize King Harris, a new question is emerging. Was King the only target, or is this just the first move in a much larger plot to dismantle the Harris family forever? The streets are talking, and the story they are telling is one of ultimate betrayal. As the clock ticked past 2 a.m., the digital world didn't just explode. It went into a state of total meltdown. The image of a broken TI was being shared at a rate of 10,000 times per minute. But while the fans were sending prayers, the vultures of the industry were already circling. The escalation began when a notorious, leaked screenshot started circulating on a high-traffic Discord server. It was a photo of King's custom Tesla Cybertruck, but not the one from the parking lot. This was a photo taken just 20 minutes before the altercation at a gas station 3 blocks away. In the passenger seat, clearly visible through the window, was a woman. Her face was partially hidden by a designer hoodie, but the internet's digital detectives immediately went to work. By 3 a.m., the shocking reveal hit the headlines. The woman was reportedly the daughter of a high-ranking lieutenant in a rival New York syndicate, a camp that has been openly hostile toward TI's grand hustle empire for years. This wasn't just a street fight. This was a high-stakes, cross-state power play. The narrative shifted instantly. Was King Harris not a victim of a random ambush, but a participant in a forbidden romance that had finally turned deadly? If King was with the daughter of an enemy, every single move he made that night was a death wish. But the escalation didn't stop at personal drama. The industry backlash reached a fever pitch when a post appeared on 50 Cent's official Instagram. It was a picture of a chessboard with a king piece knocked over. The caption simply read, "Checkmate. I told, and the silver spoon would eventually choke get the strap." The post was deleted within 60 seconds, but in the age of the screenshot, 60 seconds is an eternity. Fans began to speculate. Did this set up King walked in to have roots in the 50 Cent feud? Was this 50 Cent's way of showing TI that in the world of real power, even your children aren't safe? The panic was palpable. Within an hour, a leaked Twitter thread from a verified industry insider claimed that a retaliatory hit had already been authorized in the streets of Atlanta. The city was on a hair trigger. But then, the most shocking reveal of the night dropped, and it had nothing to do with rivalries. A technician at the hospital, who claims to have seen the initial intake report, leaked a devastating detail. When King Harris was brought into the emergency room, it wasn't just injuries from the altercation that the doctors found. They reportedly found a high-tech GPS tracking device hidden inside King's designer watch, a gift he had supposedly received just a week prior from a new business partner. This revelation changed everything. This wasn't just a betrayal by a friend. This was a professional, military-grade surveillance operation. King wasn't just followed. He was hunted. Every standing on business post he made, every location he tagged, and every boastful livestream was being monitored by people who were waiting for the exact moment he was vulnerable. The fatal altercation was the endgame of a months-long hunt. As if things couldn't get any worse, a video emerged on a leaked Telegram channel showing the mystery girl from the Cybertruck jumping into a black SUV immediately after the shots were fired. She didn't look scared. She looked prepared. The theory now circulating is that she was the honeypot, the bait used to lure King Harris out of his gated community safety and into the kill zone. The escalation has reached a point where it's no longer just about King's life. It's about a massive, multi-layered conspiracy to dismantle TI's entire world. TI's silence in the hospital is being interpreted as a sign of total defeat. Rumors are swirling that he has already contacted his legal team, not just for his son, but to protect himself from the fallout of what's about to be revealed next. The shocking reveal that everyone is waiting for is no longer if King will survive, but who exactly gave the order to pull the trigger. The web is closing in, and the Harris family is trapped in the center of a storm that is about to wash away everything they've built. The moment TI's live stream cut to black, the internet didn't just report the news, it became a battlefield. Within minutes, the hashtag Pray for King Harris was fighting for space against hashtag the crash out, creating a digital divide that Atlanta hasn't seen in decades. On TikTok, thousands of users began reposting the final seconds of TI's stream, analyzing every frame of his face, every tear, and every muffled sound. The public reaction has been a mix of pure, gut-wrenching sympathy and cold, ruthless criticism. One viral tweet with over 500,000 likes read, "Watching a king crumble in real time is the most haunting thing I've ever seen. T.I. tried to save him, but the streets don't respect a father's love." But the industry reactions were where the real tension began to boil. The rap world is small, and in Atlanta, news travels faster than a bullet. Major artists began posting cryptic messages that felt more like warnings than tributes. Future posted a simple eagle emoji on his story with a caption, "The city is hot. Stay inside." While Lil Baby shared a photo of the Atlanta skyline at night, writing, "Prayers for the family, but the game is the game." These weren't just condolences. They were signs that the industry knew this fatal altercation was the spark that could set the whole city on fire. The most controversial reaction, however, came from the fake news and commentary channels that flooded YouTube. Within an hour, leaked screenshots of celebrity group chats began circulating. One alleged chat, supposedly involving several high-profile New York rappers, showed them laughing at King's Cybertruck being a sitting duck. The backlash was immediate. Fans began attacking anyone who made light of the situation, leading to massive digital wars between different fan bases. The divide in the public's heart is deep. On one side, you have the parents and longtime T.I. fans who see this as the ultimate tragedy, a father who escaped the trap only to lose his son to the very image of it. On the other side, the street critics are being loud and unapologetic. You can't claim business on a podcast and then expect the streets to play by industry rules, one commenter wrote on a major rap blog. King Harris wanted the smoke, and the smoke finally found him. This debate has turned social media into a toxic pool of "I told you so's" and "have some respect." Even mainstream news outlets are struggling to keep up with the chaos. CNN and Fox 5 Atlanta have been camped outside Northside Hospital, but the information blackout from the Harris family has led to even more wild speculation. Fans are tracking the private jets of major rappers, wondering who is flying into Atlanta to either pay their respects or join the retaliation. Every time a car with tinted windows pulls up to the hospital, the crowd of fans outside erupts into a frenzy. But amidst the noise, one thing is clear. The industry is terrified. This wasn't a shooting of a rival. This was the shooting of a son of the city. If King Harris doesn't make it, the unwritten rules of engagement in rap might be gone forever. The public reaction isn't just about grief, it's about fear. Fear that the peace T.I. worked so hard to maintain in Atlanta is officially dead. As the night drags on, the industry is holding its breath, waiting for a single word from the family. But all they have right now is the image of T.I. crying on camera, a silent reminder that in this world, even a king can lose his crown. Just when the world thought it had seen the worst of this tragedy, a final, earth-shattering revelation has surfaced that changes the entire nature of the fatal altercation. While the cameras were focused on King's critical condition and T.I.'s public breakdown, a confidential, leaked police report from the Atlanta PD has just hit the dark web. And what it contains is enough to dismantle the entire Harris dynasty in a single night. According to the forensic ballistics report, the shell casings found at the scene of the parking lot ambush didn't just match any random street weapon. They were traced back to a custom-registered firearm, a firearm that was officially reported missing from T.I.'s own private collection just 3 days ago. The internet is reeling. The theory that this was a setup by 50 Cent or a rival gang is suddenly being overshadowed by a much more terrifying possibility. Did King Harris steal his father's weapon to stand on business that night? Or, and this is the twist that has everyone's blood running cold, was the third person in the car actually a plant from within T.I.'s own inner circle? But wait, it gets even darker. A grainy, leaked audio clip from the hospital's waiting room has just been released by an anonymous source. In the clip, you can hear a voice that sounds suspiciously like T.I., whispering in a heated argument with an unidentified lawyer. The voice says, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. He was only supposed to be scared, not hit." Wait, was this entire ambush a staged scare tactic gone wrong? Did T.I. attempt to orchestrate a fake altercation to finally terrify his son into leaving the streets, only for the hired actors to turn the situation fatal? The implication is paralyzing. If T.I. was behind the scare, then every tear we saw on that live stream wasn't just grief. It was the crushing weight of a father who accidentally destroyed his own son while trying to save him. As the industry holds its breath, a new video has just started circulating on a private Telegram channel. It shows the mystery girl from the Cybertruck entering a safe house in a neighboring state. As she removes her hoodie, the camera catches a glimpse of her phone screen. She's looking at a photo of King Harris, and her last outgoing message reads, "The king is down. Phase 2 begins now." Who is she working for? Is King Harris even still in that hospital, or was the critical condition reported decoy to move him to an undisclosed location? Just as the world waits for an official statement, T.I.'s Instagram account has been completely wiped. Every post, every memory, every plaque gone. In its place is a single, black profile picture and a bio that now reads, "The sins of the father." The drama isn't over. It's just evolving into something far more dangerous. Was this a family tragedy, a professional hit, or the ultimate inside job? The answers are locked inside that high-security hospital wing, and as the sirens fade into the night, one thing is certain. The Harris family you knew is dead. Something much more calculated and cold is rising in its place.
Stay tuned,
because the footage that's about to drop next will change the rap game forever. The fatal altercation was only the beginning of the end. This story is far from over, and the rabbit hole goes deeper than anyone expected. Was this a scare tactic gone wrong, or is there a traitor sitting at T.I.'s dinner table? We want to hear from you. Drop your theories in the comments right now. Was King set up by his own circle, or is this the ultimate revenge from the 50 Cent camp? Don't let the truth pass you by. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications immediately because we are tracking a leaked medical update and the identity of that mystery girl as we speak. You do not want to miss our next drop. It's going to change everything. Stay alert, stay skeptical, and we'll see you in the next one. The king is down, but the truth is rising.